The news at noon, Vice President Yemi Osibajo calls for improved cooperation among West African states. INEC Debunks voter registration extension and sets a June 30 deadline. People advised to seek medical advice when deciding to avoid going to depression. On the foreign scene, Ukraine sets to be approved as European Union candidates as Brussels summit today. In sports, federal government reverses ban on international basketball. Details coming up shortly. Good afternoon and welcome to the news on Planet Radio 101.1 FM. I am Bright James. We begin the news this afternoon with the reports that Vice President Yemi Osibajo has called on West African countries to improve their levels of cooperation to better address problems of healthcare access and out-of-school children, among other human development indices. Osibajo said this at the presidential villa Abuja when he received the Prime Minister of Guinea-Bissau, Nuno Nabian, ahead of today's ECOWAS Integrated Regional Human Capital Development Forum, hosted by the National Economic Council. According to a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistants to the Vice President of Media and Publicity, Laolo Kande, the Vice President thanked Nabian for honoring the invitation to attend the conference, stating that the Human Capital Development meeting is very important and an opportunity to share experience and help each other. Osibajo noted that Nigeria's National Economic Council has done a lot of work in human capital development, focusing on various challenges, including questions around out-of-school and healthcare access, and would significantly improve the human development indices in West Africa. However, he acknowledged that the indices show that a lot more work still needed to be done. Meanwhile, Professor Osibajo commended President Omar Mbalo of Guinea-Bissau for his strong support for Nigeria, describing him as a very good friend of the country. Now, on unemployment, the federal government has announced the opening of employment and job creation portals for unemployed Nigerians living in the country, as well as in the diaspora, following the rising wave of unemployment in the country. Labour and Employment Minister Senator Chris Ngige made this known while speaking with newsmen after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. The council approved a portal called Nigerian Labour Exchange that would be domiciled in its Ministry for Employment and Job Creation. According to him, the platform had not been developed over time and could not take stress of the number of people wanting to go onto it, adding that the digital platform was supposed to be used by employers on one hand and job seekers on the other. Ngige further said another memo was presented before the Council for approval on behalf of one of the parastatals under the Labour Ministry, the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund. However, Ngige also stated that Council approved the digitization of the operations of the trust fund, which was estimated to cost 1.2 billion naira. On electoral matters, the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has denied extending the deadline of the ongoing continuous voter registration CVR, describing the report that it has agreed to extend the deadline by 60 days as false. Recall that Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters, Jibril Doko, had, while briefing lawmakers, told members during a plenary session yesterday that the Commission had agreed to extend the CVR by 60 days. A responding Chief Press Secretary recalled that the Chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters, Jibril Doko, had, while briefing lawmakers, told members during a plenary session yesterday that the Commission had agreed to extend the CVR by 60 days. But responding Chief Press Secretary to the INEC Chairman Rotimi Oyekami clarified that the Commission has not announced an extension of the CVR deadline. The exercise, which was meant to end on June 30, had been greeted by calls for an extension. Also, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja had stopped INEC from ending the exercise until all eligible voters had been registered. While the House of Representatives has faulted media reports associating it with the extension of the ongoing CVR, the House spokesperson Benjamin Kalu said it was untrue that the sheet of the INEC voter registration was announced on the floor of the House. Flanked by the Chairman of the House Committee on INEC, Haji Adoko, he said the decision on the sheet is left to Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, led INEC to take in education. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, has said, contrary to insinuations that the federal government was not engaging with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, There have been a series of meetings between all parties, with the next one coming up today. He said this while speaking with the State House correspondents after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council in Abuja. Recall that ASU has been on strike since February. Some of the electorate demands include the revitalization of public universities, earned allowance, improved funding of state universities, and promotion areas. Others are the replacement of the integrated personnel payroll information system with its own university transparency and accountability solution in the payment of emoluments to its members. The minister dismissed the insinuation that the federal government was planning to introduce different salary payments platforms for the trade unions in tertiary institutions. ASU had insisted on the university transparency and accountability solution UTAS it created, claiming that the integrated payroll and personal information system (IPPIS) was shortchanging them. The federal government in March said UTAS failed 3 integrity tests. The Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities (SANU) and Non-Academic Staff Union of Allied and Educational Institutions (NASU) had also recommended the university's peculiar personal payroll system (UPPPS) as their payment platform. However, Giga said no employee or worker can detect to his employer how he or she will be paid. He assured that efforts were on towards resolving the ongoing face-off between the government and ASU as well as other university-based unions over payment platforms. Back here, a UK-based Akwa Ibom scholar and philanthropist, Innocent Odoidio, has donated 24 seated desks to St. Mary Practicing School in the Abak local government area for use by pupils of the school. Odoidio, through his organization Innocent Odoidio Foundation, donated the desk after he had sent a team from his foundation to assess the needs of the school. Most of pupils had been sitting on their floor to receive lessons according to the school management. The head teacher of the school, Tiene Obong Obut, as well as the education secretary of Abak local government area, Mini Okobido, received the desk presented on behalf of the Innocent by the coordinator of the foundation, Joseph Eko. Eko, accompanied by other members of the foundation, while presenting the item, said it was an intervention to complement the free and compulsory education policy of the Akwa Ibom State government, stressing the need for well-meaning private individuals and corporate bodies to contribute their quota to provide conducive learning environment for pupils and students in the state. And while Innocent Radio also through his foundation presented cash grants of 50,000 naira each to 10 less privileged persons from Ikot Osokong community in the local government area to improve their living condition by engaging in small-scale business activities. Among the people who received the cash grants were widows, visually impaired persons, and other physically challenged persons from the community. The beneficiaries all showered praises on Odoidio and prayed to God to continue to bless him for coming to their aid in time of need. In health, people have been advised to seek medical advice when the side effects last longer than a period of 2 weeks to avoid going from mild to moderate and severe depression, which can be suicidal. Speaking with Planet News, some residents of the Akwa Ibom State capital aired their views on causes of depression.
Family members or loved ones. Wait.
It's very funny.
This is why you be depressed is good life. And a poor man.
Hell. God is my wife is well.
Depressed because he's not being to be here to give it time.
I've been depressed before. It was a long time ago. My boyfriend left me.
Katima. The boyfriend left me depressed. He didn't even ashamed of himself. I've been depressed before my boyfriend left me. So you that have left me in God, how of you I should be depressed too, right?
Problems of life.
He is depressed too now.
That's the truth.
Yeah, he's depressed.
So both of us are depressed now.
Further speaking with our correspondent on what depression is, the type, symptoms, and causes, the head of mental health at Department University of Your Teaching Hospital, Dr. Henry Jumbo, stressed that there are many types of mental illness, which depression is one of them, describing it as the sickness of the mind as against the brain and body caused by negative life events. Continuation of the news. Additionally, Dr. Jumbo talked about possible treatment and management of depression and stressed that it is not spiritual, and as such, anyone having symptoms of either prolonged sadness or prolonged happiness should seek urgent medical attention. It is now on the foreign scene. Ukraine is set to be approved as a European Union EU candidate at the Brussels summit later today after the European Commission gave the green light. Recall that Ukraine had applied days after the Russian invasion in February, and the process has since moved at record speed. Its ambassador to the EU told Nigerian that it would be a psychological boost for Ukrainians. Reports in the Western Balkan countries of Albania, North Macedonia, Montenegro and Serbia have been candidate countries for years. Bosnia and Herzegovina applied for candidacy in 2016 but have still not succeeded. Several EU states have agreed to back Ukraine's candidacy, provided conditions are attached before accession can begin, including judicial and anti-corruption reforms. Now to sports, where the federal government has rescinded its decision to suspend the country's basketball teams from all international competitions for 2 years. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, Ismail Abubakar, disclosed this at a news conference in Abuja today. They said the latest decision is based on the letter of appeal from the Nigerian Basketball Federation signed by Musa Kida. Recall that the government had on May 12 via statements from the Ministry of Youth and Sports, quoting President Muhammadu Buhari, approved the country's immediate withdrawal from all international basketball competitions for 2 years. Buhari cited the unending crisis that have plagued and nearly crippled basketball development in the country as reason for the immediate withdrawal of Nigeria from all international basketball competitions for a period of 2 years. The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sonidari, further said that the withdrawal of the country's teams from international basketball was to provide the government with the opportunity to revamp the sport from the grassroots, as well as provide the domestic leagues which have become moribund. Now, on the entertainment scene, Nigerian Afrobeat superstar Keys Daniel has revealed that he wishes to perform his hit single Boga at the 2020 World Cup in Qatar. The singer revealed this in his tweet, praying that God should make it happen as he longs to perform with Hamas Choir. Reports say Boga has been the biggest song in Nigeria in 2022, topping charts and taking over the streets. The song even found its way to the DC Presidential Convention, where it served as the event soundtrack. It's been the news on Planet Radio 101.1 FM here, but before we go, a recap of the major stories.
You're not curious.
In the news, we told you Vice President Yemi Osibajo has called on West African countries to improve their levels of cooperation to better address problems of healthcare access and out-of-school children, among other human development indices. The Independent National Electoral Commission INEC has denied extending the deadline of the ongoing continuous voter registration, describing the reports that it has agreed to extend the deadline by 60 days as false. People have been advised to seek medical advice when their sadness lasts longer than a period of 2 weeks to avoid going from mild to moderate and severe depression, which can be suicidal. On the foreign scene, we told you that Ukraine is set to be approved as a European Union EU candidate at a Brussels summit later today, after the European Commission gave the green light. In sports, reported that the federal government has rescinded its decision to suspend the country's basketball teams from all international competitions for 2 years. For comments and coverage of newsworthy events, our newsroom on 0812-770-2940. That is 0812-770-2940. You visit our website on planet11fm.ng. Follow us on Twitter at planet_11fm. You can also like our verified Facebook page at planet11fm. For you, the news was edited by Florian, Cecilia, and Jane O'Hara. To end the news, always remember that success is going from failure to failure until you get it right. So make each day your masterpiece. I am Pride. James, good afternoon and thank you.